Okay, so my name's Tyler, and I decided to kind of do like a podcast for my project. Basically, what my focus is on mental illnesses, and I kind of was trying to figure out like a group to kind of focus on. And one I thought would be, I think that's really important is our servicemen and women. They a lot of them go into wars and things like that, and we kind of forget what they see when they're over in battle and things like that. So that was kind of like my focus group on this, and I was kind of focusing on like post-traumatic stress, depression, bipolar, personality trait disorder, things like that, that they suffer from when they come back. So I kind of wanted to start off just different research I did and things before I kind of get into talking about linking, you know, um, medicine administration and things like that into my project. Kind of wanted to do some research and things, and I found a lot of horrible facts, unfortunately, with regards to mental illnesses and things inside the military, and people that are being diagnosed. So one thing I wanted to start off with was according to Harvard Medical School professor Mark Swartz, the rate of major depression is 5 times as high among soldiers than it is in civilians that have never been in the military. This was basically found within like post-traumatic stress. They found it was 15 times higher than a civilian. So that's a really big amount. Then it goes on to say that there is another study being conducted from sorts, suggesting that every other person that joins the military had already previously maybe had like a mental health condition. So it was, and this was like on a large amount. So this is things that where people might have suffered something in their childhood that gave them some type of mental illness of some sort. And then kind of like I said, going through some more research and things, I found that soldiers serving during wartime are at increased risk of developing a mental illness more than a civilian might. And some of the wars I wanted to I know I can't really touch on every war and everything like that, but kind of what I focused on was Vietnam, and then like our most current war, which would be the Afghan and Iraqi war. The things that I found kind of among that, let's see, a study published Archives of Internal Medicine was conducted by Dr. Karen Seal and colleagues at the San Francisco Veterans Affairs Medical Center and the University of California, San Francisco. According to their analysis, about 1/3 of the 103,788 returning veterans seen at a VA facility between September 2001 and September 30th of 2005 were diagnosed with mental illnesses or a psychosocial disorder such as homelessness or marital problems, including domestic violence. The mental illnesses that were found that were the major factors were bipolar depression, personality trait disorder, and post-traumatic stress disorder. So coming home, they were struggling severely just to go naturally back into society without having multiple issues. And then among that, post-traumatic stress disorder affected 13% of veterans in this particular study that I'm speaking about in the Iraq War. So that's a really, really big amount. And I know also during this time period, in like a 6 month period, there was like 20 to 25 soldiers that had committed suicide because they couldn't deal with a lot of the stresses and things like that. So kind of continuing on with regards to these different studies I was finding, during the Iraq War, a group with the highest rate of mental health problems was those between the age of 18 and 24. So that was your highest percentage for being diagnosed with mental illnesses, was between 18 and 24. The younger active duty soldiers were 3 times as likely of those that were 40 years and over to be diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder or another mental health disorder such as bipolar or depression or something like that. Veteran Affairs had been putting more mental health professionals into primary care facilities to help veterans with mental health issues. The problem is veterans historically have resisted going to these medical clinics, which is very true because a lot of them, they get out and, a lot of them are very big on having their guns and things like that. So when you're diagnosed with something like that through the VA and that's like one of your disabilities that you're paid for through the VA, you're not allowed to possess any firearms. So that was really big. Research does show with these individuals that if they would have gotten help a lot sooner, they wouldn't maybe be as bad. But unfortunately, a lot of them hide their things until, one, they commit suicide, 2, domestic violence, commit crimes, things like that. One of the biggest things that is very prevalent with anybody with a disability is the labeling theory, which kind of emerged in the 1960s. Basically, the labeling theory works from the simple premises that is to define someone as mentally ill conveys upon them a stereotypical image which the people will then act. So basically, people label individuals with disabilities such as mental illness. They label them as monsters or people that can't function in normal society, and that's and that's kind of a label across anybody with a disability. It doesn't matter what type of disability is, and that's something that as a society we still struggle with, and I don't really think it will ever get better just because some people don't understand individuals with disabilities, unfortunately. I'm kind of looking over my different research and things that I have, and I will turn in a reference page to all the different types of references that I went through and looked at, just to show where I got my information from. So there was a case study that I looked at with regards to mental illnesses and things. This study was conducted by Harvard entomologist Ronald Kessler. Showed that 14% of soldiers had thought about taking their lives, while 5.3% had planned a suicide attempt, or 2.4% had actually made one or more attempts. So most suicides occurred back home here after they got back from fighting, like in the Afghan War or Iraq, and the rate has increased among troops who have never deployed overseas. So meaning that they're finding more people being diagnosed with mental illnesses, and they haven't even been shipped off to war or anything like that, because you're basically being taught to either kill somebody or be killed. So it's becoming more of an issue that they're finding in research and things like that. Of these percentages come from only roughly about 5,500 Army soldiers. So with regards to this case study, they only studied about 5,500 of these individuals, and 14% is a really high rate among 5,500. And these individuals were being tested for different mental illnesses, and the percentages were dangerously high. And like I said, the highest percentages that they were finding among mental illnesses were post-traumatic stress, bipolar, and personality trait disorder, and depression. So super, super, super high rates. And this was really, really, really interesting that I found. So also another like aspect that was mentioned in this research, in these studies that I'm talking about, was the death tolls in Iraq and Afghanistan, with regards to suicide and then somebody like being killed in action, being a KIA. A total of 4,491 service members were killed in Iraq between 2003 and 2014. So for every soldier that was killed in Iraq during the war, 20 soldiers witnessed that individual's death. So this means that, there's a high probability that, 20 of these people are going to suffer some type of serious mental illness from seeing, somebody die. And it's, very graphic and things like that, and what they were kind of presenting. Also, the total number of people killed in the Afghan war was 2,374 service members between 2001 and 2015, which means that about for every 15 soldiers, 15 of those individuals witnessed, a soldier's death. So it's super bad hearing that with regards to these individuals seeing these things, because they were coming back with some serious mental illnesses. And another thing that I was really, like I said, looking into is it was brought up to their superiors that they were having these these mental illnesses and things, and these higher up superiors were kind of like just pushing it aside and making them still go through with their training and things like that. And so there was a major like breakdown among a lot of the military branches where these superiors were not listening to their soldiers, and when they were saying, hey, like, I'm seriously depressed, or I have had some type of traumatic event that I felt is necessary to me, or to whoever, and they were basically putting them aside, and then that's where the suicide rates were going up and things like that. So it was really, really, really bad. So I was kind of trying to think, like, what can I do? So I wanted to bring on someone that's very close to me in my life that served in the military. This individual served in the Army, and she served for 4 years. She was stationed in Alaska, and she helped with operations in the war in Afghanistan. She didn't go to war, but she helped with contributing to that war and helping out. She did communications. So I'm gonna have to do 2 separate videos, because if this one goes too long, it will be too long and I can't upload. So it'll be 2 separate videos. This individual I'm talking about, I'm lucky to call my wife. So like I said on the second video, she'll come on and I'll interview her. I don't know if she wants to go on video or not. So if not, then it might just be me talking, but she gave me full access and permission to talk about this, because my wife is really big on advocating and talking about the mental illnesses that she suffers from. from being in the military, and she'll talk about her medications and things like that. So I'm going to cut this video off, and then I will start another one shortly.